What is up, guys? Welcome to a new video. So today we're going to check out the best champion 6.24 so far if you're trying to climb in the new season and that's what you care about most. Let me know what you think or who you're using down in the comments. Remember, there is the $1,000 RP giveaway as well below, but let's get started. So timestamps are down in the description as well. We're going to start with mid lane this time, and the second pick is going to be Lux. There are some really bad ones right now because of the Elementalist skin, which is an awesome skin, but there are some really good ones as well. And as a general champion, I think she's really good. She is able to carry and one-shot super hard. Like, it makes the game a 5v4 for your team, and in theory they don't even have to play that well. Honestly, you just remove someone for a fight before it even starts. You have your wave clear with your E and ultimate maybe. This just means that it makes it harder for the enemy team to take towers and snowball on you. Even if they get a lead, they can't necessarily just take tower after tower if you're there. Your roams are pretty good. You have your ultimate snipes, but you have good utility as well. Not just amazing damage, you have a bind, you have a slow, a shield for the entire team. Part of the problem with Lux though is you're immobile and you're low health, so the enemy gets ahead and they're going to dive on you and kill you a lot probably. And also you need items to really start doing damage. So if you have a rough start, you're going to take a while to get back into the game. Overall, you're really strong though, and you're good at solo carrying, which I think is really rare in League now. Like how the game actually is, you're a lot more reliant on your team to do something, but Lux doesn't really need that. LeBlanc is going to be taking the #1 spot, but we're going to actually have to see how the new changes affect her. For now, she's still here though. Your burst is crazy, and it's also much easier now, I think, with this mark system. Like you hit someone with a spell and then you wait a little bit and then you do bonus damage afterwards. Now people understand it. You can actually abuse that super easily. The whole ultimate clone thing is still a bit strange actually sometimes, but at the moment it doesn't even really need that to do your job. Like you can actually abuse just normal spell rotations and still kill everybody. You can push, you can roam. Roaming is really good because of your W mobility and how much damage you pack, but even just 1v1 you're still a beast. You can still get fed that way. Early game LeBlanc is still definitely the most deadly champion you can play against, so I think if you make a few mistakes you're going to die for them, which is really hard to play against. The wave clear stuff has actually hurt her a little bit more, I think, than we probably realized, so she might not be the top spot for now, but her damage is still ridiculous. Late game, you are still a burst mage as well. You're still a low health glass cannon kind of style mage that LeBlanc has always suffered from. It's hard to burst late game against more defense and when they're grouped as well. Overall though, your damage is still insane. The mark makes it easier as well, I think, and you are top tier 1v1 or whether you're roaming around in a team fight. As well as the 2 in each role, we have one to watch out for as well that's kind of upcoming, and I expect them to be really good going forward in the next couple of weeks or into the next patch. The one for mid lane is going to be Ziggs. He's actually very good right now and upcoming. Wave clear, poke, long range damage, and siege as well, so expect to see him a lot more. He's actually a lot like Lux. The more assassins leave the meta at the moment and the less damage is flying around, like if LeBlanc gets worse as well, then the better Lux gets, the better Ziggs gets as well. So let's move on to the jungle. Number 2 is Shyvana. The mini rework went a bit too far actually and made her way too strong. She's just so well rounded and a good ban at the moment actually if you want to ban her. The farm speed is the first thing, okay? So farming is more rewarding in season 7 anyway. You get way more gold from them, especially the mini camps if you can take them quickly as well. Actually, Shyvana has the most farm out of any jungler right now. That is over a spread of games, by the way, so in general she just farms better than any other jungler. It's also how much damage she has though with just Blood Razor. Maybe Titanic as well, and you get tanky afterwards. Your ultimate is much better right now. It can't be interrupted. It makes kiting her a lot harder, and also the new fervor. So fervor for melee champions now takes 4 hits to stack it properly, and the Blood Razor, you have the attack speed already, so you're attacking quite fast. You can use your key reset as well. It's actually really good. One of the problems with her though is you're weak with just Blood Razor, so you're not the best ganker either. Really, you want to kind of take off mid game, but you have to dive in, so you need time to kill people unless you're super fed. Overall, you farm like a monster, and that is the #1 thing, honestly. You have so much damage, you have so much gold as well, and you get tanky from all that gold that you spend. Savite is the best of the best by far in my opinion. Way too much damage, and she just outperforms everybody else. Warrior and Triforce is just through the roof damage, and it's super easy to do as well. You just have to hit your Q, you press R, you just use your E occasionally. You don't even have to auto reset it. You should do, but you don't have to kill people. Your farming is great. You have a shield, AoE damage. You can kill bigger things too with your W passive, so it's fast and it's healthy. You have easy ganks with your ultimate, plus it forces you to have impact more. Like, it's actually a really underrated thing, but because it's such a big cooldown, you gank every time it's up. You actually naturally do a bit more in the game. You also scale into the late game really well too. You have good engage, lockdown on an AD carry or a mid laner. You have damage to back that up as well and 1v1 them, and you can get tanky enough to survive the dive in. The bad stuff really is you have to build damage, which means you aren't that tanky, funnily enough. Like, that's not really how it works, right? But you actually just build damage pretty much the entire game. You have to dive into the enemy team to do anything, so that can be an issue to solo carry later. Overall though, you're actually a surprise Courage of the Colossus abuser. With damage it's even better because you get that shield when you dive into a fight, and you don't need defense as much. You only really need a few seconds to burst people with that build anyway. My one to watch out for is going to be Nocturne though. It's basically like a mini Shyvana actually, but with more burst. You're not quite as strong, but you're still really good, and you're coming up at the moment, especially with the new fervor. You can solo Drakes, you farm well, and you carry really hard. So let's move on to AD carry now, and Caitlyn is a bit of a surprise, but basically AD carries are not in the best spot anymore. Caitlyn is high range and very safe with good matchups and a good late game. She is strong in the lane phase when bot tends to be a party, or if you can win most 2v2s actually as well if it isn't a party. But normally, you know how AD carry is right now, you know how bot lane is, you're going to get ganked a lot by the mid laner and the enemy jungler. Your net is actually more useful now as well with that headshot thrown in late game that really hurts, by the way. It helps to deal with divers, you damage them, you slow them, and you gain some distance. Late game Caitlyn is where it's really at though, right? You're a machine with the high range and your runins as well. The headshots are overpowered now, you're going to stack it faster because the runins 3 shots are going to charge it faster. You also have a lot of tower pressure, you have traps to zone them away, you have high range to attack from a safe distance and get them as well. You are a tower taking machine. That's all really good, but your mid game is pretty crap. Even if you're fed, you aren't going to be able to do a ton, and you really need items to do damage. No abilities to really carry fights or anything like that. It's just autos and crits. Overall, you're just a very, very safe AD carry that can't go wrong, really. I guess we can't go that badly wrong anyway. Even with bot lane parties, she can survive, and eventually she is going to carry the game. Twitch is number 1 though, because he is on another level to every other AD carry. Nobody really comes close or even compares to him. Your W wave clear is a big reason it helps him trading early. It's just a really good upgrade from his old W as well, but it's a new fervor. This helps him even more. Your poison and your E interaction basically means you want to stack your poison anyway, which stacks fervor, and then the fervor is going to buff your E damage when you get to 5 poison stacks. Your Q stealth procking so fast in a fight as well. I know it's camouflage, but it's used to escape or get in much faster, which is much more useful. It's just how good he is with crit as well. Runins and his ultimate, like the high range critting everybody, is kind of disgusting how much damage he has. The last thing is he's good at roaming, right, and pushing his lead. You get ahead and you don't know where he is unless he's laning. Like, he could be anywhere. He could be ganking your lane and you'd have no idea. The biggest downside with Twitch is always that he's immobile and you have nothing really defensive in your kit. I guess kind of Q, but not really. You're super weak to crowd control or anything that keeps you in place. Overall, mainly why he's number 1 is because of the crit aspect. It gives him crazy teamfight potential with his ultimate, fervor, and his poison. You're more effective at 2 items as well than most other AD carries, which means he can do a lot more mid game. Varus is my one to watch out for though for AD carry. Crit, or the Essence Reaver build that's going around right now, is really good. You have a good lane phase, high range, and your ultimate to lock people down. You kind of want to think about this like an Ashe. It's how that works basically, but you have a bit more damage early, which is why he's slightly better now. So moving into the top lane, the second spot is Darius, and he is the lane king. He's also happy because we're seeing loads of more tanks in the game. Your sustain is dumb, especially when Courage of the Colossus is absorbing stuff anyway. Like, you don't take as much in the first place, plus you're healing on top of it. You're really good versus tanks and actually carry laners for the exact same reason, but tanks you have a sustained fight with bleed damage and dunk. That's exactly kind of trade he wants anyway. Carry laners, you build defense, you sustain to outplay, and you can dunk as well. It counters basically every meta champion right now, a popular one. He's the best laner by far. You do get kited around a lot in fights though, which is kind of a ball ache. You just run around and they avoid you. At least AD carries are going to kite you like a madman. Overall, he's number 2 because he just spanks people in the lane phase so hard. He doesn't stop spanking either. Like, he keeps running around, going and going, diving people, which tilts as well as gets a massive lead. Like, your team fight is okay too. You're tanky of damage and heals and shields. Yasuo is number 1 though, the outplay and late game king basically. Like a champ you can face roll on, or you can actually show a lot of skill with as well. You have an amazing late game. You have the damage, you're kind of tanky-ish with lifesteal, and also your frozen mallet, you heal, and also very hard to kill, especially like dashing around in your wind wall. The new fervor is so good on him. 4 hits to get maximum ride, which is 65 or something AD free, basically 65 anyway. He's just way too strong with it. It's also because he's quite versatile in the game actually. Like, he can split push, he can team fight and do well with both. Nobody can really 1v1 you late game, but your ultimate can crush in fights as well. You can show a lot of skill on him. You can dash around, you can block stuff. It's really hard to deal with anyway, but you don't even need that to win. Like, you can face roll as a semi-decent average Yasuo player and still win the game. He is kind of hit and miss though, which is the Yasuo we know and love. In my opinion, that's more the player, but yeah, if you get behind, you don't really know how to recover, then you're probably just going to feed a whole bunch and make sure your team bans him next game to stop someone on their team playing him. Overall, you have a lot of room to show skill, so it's good to actually master the champion. The more time you invest in him, the better it's going to be. Fervor is OP on him. You have an amazing late game who can just also win the lane and get his items faster. The one to watch is Nautilus though, because he abuses Courage of the Colossus like a mofo. It's so hard to stop this guy. He has a lot of damage. He's very tanky. Your shield blocks the first part of a trade anyway, and you have tons and tons of crowd control. He is by far the best teamfight tank in my opinion. So support is the last up, and legit basically nothing is changing with support. Everything is decent, but redemption is so overpowered. Blitzcrank is going to be number 2 because he's the best aggressive support you can play lane in my opinion, surrounded by like immobile AD carries and mid laners and supports who you can prey on. You can actually build redemption and make it work, and yes, this is actually a criteria for top tier support now. You get the HP, you get the cooldown reduction, and the redemption active. You can actually win games basically solo mid game by getting a beast hook, and as weird as it sounds, you work well with tanks. Like if you actually hook someone in, tanks are going to lock them down afterwards because they have a lot of crowd control on their kit. The biggest downside to Blitzcrank is you're all or nothing. If you miss your hooks, you can be abused so easily, and there's no real defensive protection for your AD carry when someone dives in. Not close to others anyway. Overall, you are a really good aggressive support. You can win or lose games basically single-handedly, which is good if you want to carry, but bad if you screw it up. Janna is going to be number one, and I actually hate myself right now. I hate Janna, but there are so many champions to protect at the moment. Immobile AD carries, mid laners, carry junglers, carry top laners. Redemption is also so overpowered on her, like so broken. You have your shield, you have redemption, and your ultimate heal as well in the middle of a team fight. Tanks everywhere actually makes it better as well because it's easier to peel tanks, and AD or mid like 100% won't die now. You keep them away and you stop them even getting close, which allows the AD or mid to do even more damage. The only downside really is you don't do that much in lane. You can't really get your AD carry fed. You rely on them making moves and you helping them, which isn't really the best for solo queue, or at least the best with a bad AD carry. The one to watch out for though is actually Soraka. She's sneaking in again in 6.24, a redemption user, but just so many hills with that thing. You have your W, your ultimate, and redemption now. She's actually very solid at the moment, and even though most people don't realize it, really good in the same ways Janna is. The same reasons we just listed for her apply to Soraka as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think, but for now, let's go to the robots.